Welcome to Health and Safety Compliance Training. During this training session, we will review several important health and safety topics, including emergency action plan and fire prevention, hazard communication, personal protective equipment, bloodborne pathogens, and lockout-tagout for affected employees. In this section, we will review key elements of the Emergency Action Plan, which provides information regarding emergencies that may occur and how to properly respond. An escape route is a continuous and unobstructed way of exit travel from any point in a building to a designated safe area outside of the building, and has three key parts, which include the exit access, the exit, and the exit discharge. Each of these must be kept clear and accessible for use in the event of an emergency evacuation. Emergency action plans are in place so that when an emergency does occur, such as fires, chemical spills, or severe weather events, we are prepared. In the event that an emergency requires evacuation of the facility, follow this procedure. Notify others if you see an emergency. When an alarm sounds, if you're trained to do so, shut down equipment. If you're not trained to do so, exit the building and meet at the assembly area. Don't leave this area until you've been accounted for and have been told it is safe to re-enter the building. All exits must have appropriate signs and be well lit. Emergency exits must be kept clear, including the way to the exit itself, and the other side of the exit. They cannot be blocked or locked at any time. Do you know where the evacuation assembly area is? It's at the corner of the parking lot in the grassy area. Know your emergency exit route. Listen to all building alarms and announcements. Exit the building when an alarm sounds. Gather at the designated meeting area. Stay until you're given instructions, and always participate in drills. Remember, if you come across an emergency situation, alert your supervisor, shut down your equipment if it's safe to do so, pull the fire alarm if necessary, and evacuate. If you hear the carbon monoxide alarm, follow this procedure. Evacuate the department or building via posted routes. If it is safe to do so, install danger tape at entryways to the area to prevent entry. Assemble in the designated areas with fresh air. Notify maintenance that a carbon monoxide alarm is sounding and note the exact location. Remain at the designated area until head count is complete and it's been determined safe to re-enter. In the event of a medical emergency at work, such as severe workplace injury, heart attack, stroke, seizure, or other medical event, we must alert the authorities by calling 911. While on the call, provide the nature of the emergency, the location of the emergency, as well as your name and phone number. Upon arrival, assist emergency personnel with gaining access to the building and locating the injured person. In addition, notify the trained in-house first responders of emergency details so that appropriate in-house responses and procedures are followed. If an emergency occurs that makes it more safe to stay in the building than to evacuate, follow the site's shelter-in-place procedures. Assemble in a central location away from windows, such as the maintenance office, production floor offices, and enclosed workrooms, first floor offices and conference rooms, or the second floor training room and offices. Maintain shelter in place until further instructions are given. Do you know the location of your closest emergency exit, exit route, emergency eye wash, fire extinguisher, or fire alarm? What condition are they in? What about a secondary location? Always ensure your emergency equipment is in good condition and ready to use. Fire prevention. In order for a fire to occur, three elements must be present: fuel, heat, and oxygen. This makes up the fire triangle. If any one of these elements can be removed, the fire can be extinguished. There are several classes of fire based on the type of fuel present. Class A fires are common combustibles. Class B fires are flammable liquids. Class C fires involve live electrical equipment. Class D fires are combustible metals. And Class K fires involve cooking media such as vegetable oils or animal fats. There are several types of extinguishers available. Class ABC fire extinguishers are one of the most common. They are multi-purpose dry chemical extinguishers that can be used on Class A, B, and C fires. One of the easiest ways to remember how to adequately use a fire extinguisher is to remember the PASS method. PASS stands for pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger, and sweep the nozzle back and forth. Here are some things to keep in mind before and during fire extinguisher use. Protect yourself first. Evacuate if there is too much smoke, the fire is out of control, or the extinguisher is not charged or working properly. Pull the fire alarm to alert the fire department and police. Know what is burning. Use the correct fire extinguisher for the type of fire, but be aware of other items in the fire that could create additional hazards. Is the fire spreading rapidly? Remember, we can only use fire extinguishers for fires in the beginning stages. Always position yourself with an exit or means of escape at your back. In case the fire extinguisher malfunctions or something unexpected happens, you need to be able to get out quickly. You don't want to become trapped. Be aware of slippery conditions. And last, do not fight any fire you aren't comfortable fighting. Hazard communication. A hazardous chemical is defined as any substance that can cause a physical or health hazard. What types of hazardous chemicals do you encounter? Gasoline, cleaning chemicals, solvents, and other chemicals used as part of the production process can fall under the Hazard Communication Program. The Hazard Communication Standard states that all employees have the right to know and understand the hazardous chemicals they use at work and how to work with them safely. This is achieved through the globally harmonized system, labels, safety data sheets, and training. The globally harmonized system is a globally implemented system that defines and classifies the hazards of chemical products. The GHS communicates health and safety information on labels and safety data sheets, or SDSs. There are 9 pictograms under the GHS that are used to convey the health, physical, and environmental hazards to those using the chemical. They include flammable, corrosive, explosive, compressed gas, oxidizing, toxic, health hazard, harmful or irritant, and a danger for the environment. Make sure you are familiar with these 9 pictograms so you can fully understand the physical and health hazards of chemicals at work and in your home. Labels give you a snapshot of the risks associated with a chemical. The Safety Data Sheet, or SDS, gives you the most complete and detailed information. SDSs have 16 standardized sections that will tell you everything you need to know about the chemical, including how to work with it safely. SDSs must be accessible at all times for review. Do you know where you can find an SDS? At the Safety Center. This section will include information on the Bloodborne Pathogens Exposure Control Plan. Bloodborne pathogens can only be transmitted to you if you physically contact an infected person's blood or bodily fluid containing blood. Even then, your healthy skin is an excellent barrier to bloodborne pathogens. Contaminated blood or bodily fluid can enter your body through mucous membranes such as your eyes, mouth, or nose. If your skin is not intact at the point of contact with a contaminated blood or bodily fluid, the bloodborne pathogen could potentially be transmitted. Examples of non-intact skin include cuts, abrasions, hangnails, and so on. Additionally, bloodborne pathogens could potentially be transmitted if a contaminated sharp such as a needle or broken glass punctures the skin. Routes of exposure include mucous membranes such as the eyes, mouth, and nose, through open skin, or through direct injection. Have you heard of universal precautions? Since exposure may happen at any time, all employees are expected to understand and adhere to universal precautions. This means that all human blood or other potentially infectious material will be considered infectious regardless of perceived status of the source individual. You should always avoid contact with fluids unless you have the proper protective equipment to protect yourself. The bloodborne pathogen spill kit contains fluid cleanup materials such as absorbent powder, a disinfectant solution, and a biohazard waste bag. If no disinfectant solution is available, it can be substituted with a solution consisting of 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. The general procedure to follow is: spray the solution on all contaminated areas, wait 20 minutes, clean all affected areas or equipment with towels or rags and tongs or scoops to minimize spraying and splashing, and then dispose of all contaminated materials in labeled red biohazard bags using scoops and tongs, and seal the bag to prevent leakage. Waste that is decontaminated can be disposed of in regular trash in most cases. If materials cannot be decontaminated prior to disposal, regulated waste containers, such as red biohazard bags, must be used. Biohazard bags are located inside of the bloodborne pathogens kits. Personal protective equipment, or PPE, is a method of protection from bloodborne pathogen exposure. Let's review the most common PPE found in bloodborne pathogen exposure kits. Eye protection. Use this when there is a risk of eye contact with blood, infectious materials, or when handling or touching contaminated surfaces. Gloves. Use when there is a risk of hand contact with blood, infectious materials, non-intact skin, mucous membranes, and when handling or touching contaminated surfaces. Face masks. Use in combination with eye protection whenever splash, spray, splatter, or droplets of blood or infectious materials may be generated and eye, nose, or mouth contamination is at risk. Apron or coveralls. Use if the risk of splash, spray, splatter, or droplets of blood of infectious materials is significant. PPE for exposure incidents is located with the first responder kits throughout the facility. In the event of a potential exposure to blood or other bodily fluid, wash your hands or exposed areas of skin or cuts thoroughly. Rinse nose and mouth. Flush eyes with clean water or sterile solution for 15 minutes. And report all incidents to your immediate supervisor, as follow-up medical evaluation may be necessary. Decontamination of all contaminated surfaces should be performed immediately by a trained person using all universal precautions. Affected personnel include emergency response team members and custodians. Note: only these personnel are permitted to deal with situations that could contain bloodborne diseases. They should be notified for these situations. This completes health and safety compliance training. Please see your supervisor if you have any questions.